Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're trying out a really fun hyper offense RESHIRAM team. This was built by TSL Tang, who you may recognize because we featured I think 4 or 5 of their teams to this point already, and they are really one of my favorite team builders in Sword and Shield. They always come up with really innovative non-meta stuff. They're actually pretty much like the first player I've seen to really use physical offensive Dynamax Regieleki all those formats ago. You know, we obviously tried that team out briefly after. Physical Tapu Fini, special Zekrom, Mamoswine, with weakness policy, just all kinds of really fun stuff, and they always get very high up on the ladder with these really innovative teams and strategies. So yeah, it's been a while since we've used a hyper-offensive team as offensive as this one, so I'm excited to feature it. I've linked their Twitter down in the description below, and huge thanks to them as always for building really, really amazing teams. So first of all, let's talk about RESHIRAM. Why use RESHIRAM in Series 10? First of all, it is pretty darn good into a lot of the non-restricted Pokemon, right? You think about the most common ones, Rillaboom, Incineroar, Regieleki. None of those can really deal that much damage to RESHIRAM, whereas RESHIRAM can not only threaten those with the KO, but also whatever wants to switch in potentially, right? Those are all Pokemon that often pivot out via Volt Switch or U-Turn or Parting Shot, for example, and RESHIRAM can, you know, potentially punish them as they switch out as well. It also just gets really good coverage, like Fire, Dragon, Ground is a pretty unique combination of attacks, and Fire in general is really valuable in this format, right? Especially when you think about the fact that there's so many Steel types running around, especially Zacian, which is of course one of the most common restricted Pokemon you'll run into. And with the Assault Vest, RESHIRAM is actually very, very tanky and can survive multiple hits. This team is really fast-paced, it's really offensive. Things like Urshifu and Regieleki will often go down to 1 hit, but the AV is just really valuable in RESHIRAM, especially when you consider that most of the common restricted, Kyogre, Calyrex, Shadow Rider, Xerneas, those are all special attackers, and so it allows you to take attacks from them a little bit better. So this is a pretty standard RESHIRAM set. You know, sometimes you'll see like Life Orb, for example, but I think AV is just really strong on it and allows it to survive for a little bit longer. The rest of the team is basically designed to just enable RESHIRAM and try to sweep your opponent as quickly as possible. So you've got Focus Sash, Tailwind, Icy Wind, Tornadus with Protect, Choice Specs Regieleki with Ancient Power. You don't see Ancient Power that common, but it gives you a slight coverage move, and this is especially helpful into Volcarona, which you will run into a fair amount in this format. Choice Scarf Urshifu. One thing I love about Scarf Urshifu is that you can combine it with Tornadus and just lead Torn Urshifu, and potentially just one-shot a lot of things that people often like to lead, like Incineroar or opposing Regielekis. Safety Goggles, Stack Attacka, and then Citrus, NDD. So the Stack Attacka here is basically to help you out against opposing Trick Room matchups, as well as matchups into Xerneas, for example. Trick Room, as you imagine, is typically a very, very bad matchup for Hyper Offense, but the Stack Attacka here can actually be a pretty effective sweeper under Trick Room, and can also reverse your opponent's Trick Room should it come down to that. NDD here is really valuable primarily for terrain control. As you'll notice, so few of the Pokemon on this team carry Protect, so it's more vulnerable to getting hit by Fake Out, right? And a single Fake Out can really slow down your momentum. So NDD is really crucial here to try to control the terrain, and it offers you a little bit more bulk. That redirection is really valuable since Urshifu, Regieleki, and Tornadus specifically are all really frail as well. So yeah, I think RESHIRAM generally actually has a pretty favorable matchup into a lot of restricted Pokemon, and even the more common ones, like, you know, Groudon's probably the one I'd want to play the least, but the other ones like Kyogre, for example, this team has multiple Kyogre answers in the Regieleki and the Urshifu. Xerneas, you've got the Stack Attacka, right? Zacian, you've got RESHIRAM in itself. And so, yeah, ultimately, I think that there's a lot of cool offense on this team. And generally, the sets aren't really super surprising, but Scarf Urshifu and Choice Specs Ancient Power Regieleki, I think both are really fun and often will catch your opponents off guard, especially in best of 1. So yeah, I can't wait to jump into this one. Thank you so much as always for watching. Question of the day, I want to know if you watched yesterday's Direct. I was amazed by the movie announcement, and the other things all seem pretty cool as well, but honestly, I haven't played too many Nintendo games outside of Pokemon recently, so if you have any recs for what you're excited for from yesterday, let me know in the comment section below. Leave a like if you enjoy, and let's get started. Alright, first game of the day, and it's going to be Xerneas. Okay. Xerneas. RESHIRAM, Stack Attacka are both valuable for us here. We're definitely bringing those. Tornadus is a little bit interesting because of Icy Wind. We don't have Taunt here, but that's fine. Tailwind allows us to outspeed the Xerneas even after they manage to potentially get their Geomancy up. The Landorus is one of the primary things I'm actually worried about. So something like Tornadus and Urshifu as a lead is really interesting, because I can just Tailwind into Surging Strikes and then go with RESHIRAM and stack in the back. Alright, that seems okay to me. Obviously they have Fake Out Pressure, but like, I think the really cool thing about Scarf Urshifu plus Tailwind is that you can dunk on Regieleki on turn 1. And you're my opponent, you also have to respect the potential NDD switch in to, you know, put up the Psychic terrain. Although I guess by my lead, you should assume I have Reshiram and Stack in the back, actually. But they go with Landorus and Regieleki. That works for me. Cool. Yeah, I think what we do here is just Tailwind into Surging Strikes into Regieleki. I guess I have a free Surging Strikes into Landorus, but I could see that switching out into Amoonguss. And because we have Icy Wind on this Tornadus, I can deal with Landorus pretty easily damage-wise. The only question I have here is if their Regieleki has any bulk. I guess you could switch out Regieleki as well, but yeah. Okay, so they don't protect or switch either, which is fine with me. If we one-shot Regieleki here, we are in an amazing position, honestly. I also could have just tried to KO Landorus, because that is the bigger threat to our Reshiram, but nice. This should be a KO. Sweet. Okay, great start to the game. Because now, like, I get a free knockout, and they can't Geomancy very easily. And even if they do, I still have Stack and AV Reshiram in the back. Okay, so they just launch Earth Power into Urshifu here. Okay, so we trade knockouts. Generally, I'm okay with that. It may have been better to actually knock out that Landorus because that's the bigger threat to us. But because I have Icy Wind on this Tornadus, I'm not that worried about Lando right now. Like, I can very easily just Icy Wind into Blue Flare right now. I guess the other question is whether or not I want a Blue Flare or something else. Yeah, and they bring Xerneas out immediately. Cool. Honestly, you would think Landorus protects here. But because we have Stack Attack in the back, I guess they might have Urshifu, but Stack should win against Xerneas in the endgame. So I don't necessarily need huge damage onto it right now. Like, I'm willing to just Icy Wind and Blue Flare. Maybe we can Heat Wave here, because I think that should KO Landorus and get free damage on a Xerneas. Alright, I'm down for that. Yeah, so Landorus just protects. That's okay because we'll be outspeeding Xerneas and I have Assault Vest on the Reshiram right now. It's just that Blue Flare obviously would have done a little bit more damage. Okay. The main thing is eliminating Landorus and potentially their Stack Attacka. Or sorry, their Urshifu, so that Stack Attacka can thrive. Okay, so here's Heat Wave number 1. It's going to connect, so that's nice at least. Pretty good damage on a Xerneas. Oh, interesting, they don't Geomancy. Probably expecting Taunt, okay. That's even better for us then. Because I can just go for Icy Wind and Heat Wave again. Yeah, there's really no counterplay they have to this. Maybe I was going to say protecting Xerneas more, but I'm not sure I love that. It's really close to a knockout on a Xerneas, but given that the combo of that did under 50%, I'm going to assume Xerneas hangs on with the Sliver here. Lando actually switches out, okay. Into Amoonguss, okay. That makes sense. Feels like I could have maybe just outright won the game here if I Blue Flared into Xerneas. That Heat Wave, I mean, that Icy Wind did more this time around, it feels like. So I think Heat Wave might just KO here. Let's see. Okay, Reshiram doesn't miss, which is very good. Oh, they both hang on with the Sliver. We get a burn on Amoonguss. That's not really the one we needed on. Is it Citrus or Lum? I was like, Lum would make so little sense. Yeah, it's Citrus. They Geomancy. Oh, that's a really big misplay on their end, I think. If they had just knocked out Tornadus, they would have been in a much better position. Because I just have so much damage on your Xerneas now, and I have the Icy Wind speed drops. The main thing I was nervous about was Xerneas knocking out Tornadus, and then their Landorus sweeping me in the endgame. But with this turn, now we should be in very, very good shape. Because we'll essentially be able to get another Tailwind up, right? This was just Reshiram sweeping under Tailwind. My only question here is if I can play around, like, missing an attack potentially. Let's see, we have Tailwind and they're at they're at neutral. They're at neutral, but we have Tailwind, yeah, so we just outspeed. I don't think we really need to protect here. Yeah, I think it's fine to just attack here. Like, Air Slash into Amoonguss. Oh, actually, I like Icy Wind because it might KO. And it covers for a switch in. I don't have 100% accurate attacks right now, so that's the only thing that makes me a little bit nervous, but that's fine, right? Oh, they double protect. Okay, that's actually the best possible outcome, right? Because, like, them stalling out Tailwind doesn't really mean much here. Because I can just Icy Wind. Well, okay, the question this next turn is basically trying to determine an endgame of accuracies. Because if I miss Icy Wind on Xerneas, then it'll survive. Oh, sorry, yeah, I mean, obviously it'll survive, and then it'll outspeed Reshiram. The alternative is to go Tailwind Heat Wave. I think Icy Wind in itself might just knock out Xerneas from that range, right? So it's like, even if I miss Icy Wind, it's probably better to Tailwind here, honestly. Yeah, I'm just nervous about missing Heat Wave here. But the reason I want to Tailwind is so that I outspeed Landorus-I in this endgame as well. If I Icy Wind and I miss Icy Wind on a Xerneas... If I miss Icy Wind onto Xerneas... It's just scary because Heat Wave connecting on both is only 81% right now. Oh, they switch Amoonguss out. Okay. That works for me. Although this is where if I had just Icy Winded, then if we had connected... Well, now it's, yeah, like, now I don't have to worry about missing Amoonguss, it's just about hitting Xerneas. Okay, Reshiram's been really clutch and hit every attack so far, so that should win us the game. Nice. It did so much damage in this game, right? Like, my opponent didn't really have great resists. Landorus, Amoonguss, Xerneas, Regieleki. In fact, all 4 Pokemon, you know, take at least neutral damage from fire-type attacks. So, that worked out really, really well for us in this one. Yeah. Okay, 3 turns of Tailwind. Once again, still possible to lose the game because of potential misses, but now Icy Wind in itself should KO Landorus. And I don't really see any reason to Blue Flare in this one. I think we can just Heat Wave. Higher accuracy. That's the only scary thing, right? Air Slash, Icy Wind, Heat Wave, Blue Flare, Draco Meteor, they're all slightly inaccurate, so every time you use those moves, I have to hold my breath for a brief second. But the thing is here, like, yeah, I don't mind Icy Wind and Heat Waving just because they're both, like, the highest accuracy attacks. I guess we actually had Air Slash for Amoonguss here. And Earth Power. Because even if I miss Heat Wave here, though, I honestly think we're still fine. But then an Icy Wind miss the subsequent turn would be scary. So, yeah. Like, it just gets scary, you know, when you use Heat Wave so many turns and we didn't get a single miss from... and Heat Wave is, like, you know... At a pretty good accuracy. 90 is obviously really solid, but you could still miss. Yeah, I'll just Heat Wave here. No reason to Blue Flare. Cool. Yeah, I think the key thing here was that my opponent let me get a second Tailwind up, and that made the game a lot easier. And then they didn't Geomancy the first time around, which meant that I could do more damage subsequently. So the lack of Geomancy the first time around makes sense, because you normally assume Taunt on Tornadus. So if you try to Geomancy there and I taunt you, you kind of just lose the game immediately, it feels like. So I think, you know, the decision of Moonblast there makes a lot of sense. It just worked out that, like, they didn't Geomancy the first turn and then did Geomancy the second turn, whereas if it were flipped, things could have gotten a little bit uglier. But RESHIRAM did amazing in that one, so I'm really, really pleased about his performance. But let's get into the next game here. That's a Wishiwashi. Whoa. That's not great for RESHIRAM, is it? Wow. Okay. So obviously they have Trick Room. I don't really know how to deal with Wishiwashi here, honestly. And if you want to set up Trick Room, you have so many leads, like Incineroar, Rillaboom, Oranguru, Necrozma, Rillaboom, Necrozma, Oranguru, Necrozma. There's like 5 different good leads for them here to potentially set up Trick Room. To which I could go maybe Reshiram, Stack Attacka, Indeedee, Aleki. Trick Room generally isn't a great matchup for this team, but that's where Stack is really useful because it can reverse Trick Room, right? Or even deal damage under Trick Room. I don't love Tornadus. Like, the thing is, if they didn't have Trick Room, I'd actually bring Tornadus probably because Air Slash is actually really good damage, but, like, they have Trick Room. It's really tough to not bring Aleki here. Or, sorry, yeah, like, I feel like because of Wishiwashi, ideally, we can just one-shot it. But it means I have to be very careful in bringing this Regieleki. Now, because this team is so hyper-offensive, there aren't many protects on most Pokemon, right? RESHIRAM doesn't have it, Regieleki doesn't have it, Urshifu doesn't have it, Stack Attacka doesn't have it. You ideally will win the game quickly. But in a Trick Room matchup, especially in which they have 3 Fake-Out users and 2 Trick Room users, it's going to be pretty hard to deny them Trick Room, and this is where Stack Attacka at least gives us a chance because we can reverse the Trick Room. I think if Trick Room goes up and we don't have Stack Attacka, we just insta-lose the game, quite frankly. They're going to go with the Oranguru and Incineroar. Okay. So this is interesting because turn 1, what I could do is, like, Body Press. I I mean, I just don't think Reshiram one-shots, like, Oranguru. Because another play I could make is go for, like, Blue Flare here onto Oranguru and then switch Stack Attack out into Indeedee to set up Psychic Terrain. So then you can't Fake Out. But I honestly lean towards Body Press more here. Okay, I think I'm actually down to Blue Flare Oranguru this turn and just Body Press. Because the thing is, I can reverse Trick Room next turn. I guess Instant could actually just Parting Shot here. So, maybe I like doubling up on Oranguru more because it punishes Instant for clicking Parting Shot here. And then we can potentially knock out Oranguru as it tries to maybe set up Trick Room. I would guess Wishiwashi and Necrozma are the back two for my opponent. So, yeah, they didn't click, I'm not sure Body Press would have KO'd Oranguru anyway, though. Okay. They actually just Snarl. That's fine. That's actually, yeah, Snarl in that position is totally okay, because you don't deal damage. They foul play Reshiram. What? Do my eyes deceive me? Life Orb Oranguru. Whoa. Okay, I mean, I'm pretty sure a Blue Flare will KO. Maybe I want a Draco, actually, because I'm probably going to switch Reshiram out this next turn anyway. And it's slightly higher accuracy, 5%. Missing's not even that bad right now, though. And the thing, yeah, I probably want to switch out Reshiram anyway, because I'm already at -1. Okay, yeah, I'm down to Draco Meteor Oranguru here. And Body Press Instant. Life Orb foul play. I mean, I'm sure that's for Calyrex Shadow Rider to just, like, get a surprise one-hit KO. You just definitely don't see that item very frequently. Okay, nice. We get the knockout. Good. Yeah, stack is what makes it really awkward for our opponents to, like, not necessarily want to just click the Trick Room button immediately, which makes our life a little bit easier, right? So, yeah, they're going to Parting Shot here. Reshiram's at -4, but that's okay. The plan was always to switch it out this next turn. The key thing here is now we're at a point where you got a lot of damage to start off this game. We get a free Body Press, too, into whatever comes in. It's got to be Wishiwashi or Necrozma, right? I mean, I'd be very happy if they didn't bring Wishiwashi, because quite frankly, that is the scariest Pokemon on their team. And the thing is, Trick Room hasn't been set up yet. This next turn, I can pivot out. Oh, wow. They bring out Rillaboom. It's like the last Pokemon you honestly would want to bring out into a Reshiram. That's one of the main reasons why Reshiram's really neat right now. It's very similar to Zekrom in the sense that most of the top non-restricteds, Rillaboom, Aleki, just can't deal very much damage into it. Instant, right? Reshiram is actually very similar to Zekrom in that regard. But this one is a little bit bulkier and doesn't rely on Dragon Dance and also has a little bit more coverage across the board. So, yeah. You know, the last game I was talking a lot about accuracy trade-offs, and this game is a good example of trying to respect that and just trying to, you know, secure a knockout. Oh, so they didn't bring Wishiwashi. Okay, that's honestly really good for us, quite frankly. But this is still very far from over. Let's see, we're at -1 attack, -1 special attack. Body Press didn't really do that much to Reshiram. I'm at -4. So that's the trade-off I had to take, but that's okay. I'm down to go into Indeedee right now, I think. And just go for a Body Press into Rillaboom. Yeah. This puts up the terrain. You can't Fake Out me. If you set up Trick Room, then my Stack Attack will actually outspeed you under Trick Room. The other question is the Necrozma moveset. Do you have a way to actually hit stack for good damage? Oh, they have high horsepower. That's not great. Looks like Necrozma is going to opt to Trick Room here, though. Okay. Pretty good damage from Body Press. Trick Room goes up. So the thing is, now I can reverse the Trick Room with the Follow Me and a Trick Room of my own, but then they could just set it up again. Body Press is so close to a knockout on Rillaboom, but I honestly think it hangs on with just the slightest amount of HP. And since we have a Lecky in the back, I'm inclined to try to reverse Trick Room right now. If I go Follow Me Trick Room here. Okay, I think I'm okay with that. I don't know. Follow me body press into Rillaboom is also a fine play here, I think. That may have been the better play. But the thing is, I should survive on Indeedee here, right? I didn't know if body press was going to KO the Rillaboom from that range. I don't assume it doesn't. Ooh, they actually would hammer, okay. That's actually perfect, because you just give me a free switch and into RESHIRAM now, right? Do I want to go into... I feel like I should go into RESHIRAM, right? With Necrozma's ability, I don't think Blue Flare KOs. I'm afraid of activating a weakness policy as well. If I body press there, then I would have lost Indeedee. They would have had to bring in Incin, but then Stack gets a free body press. But then Trick Room is up. Yeah, it's still just kind of awkward. Maybe I needed to body press this first then. Just surely they're a weakness policy, right? I don't know how much Blue Flare does. I assume they survive. But I don't think Heat Wave Body Press really gets me much further anyway. And I could see Rillaboom switching. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Wait, that actually works if Rillaboom is KOing Stack here and you give me a free switch into Regieleki. That would actually be huge. Oh, but they just target RESHIRAM. I guess that play makes sense, because even if I knock out Rillaboom... See, the thing is, I don't know how much Blue Flare does. I'm going to assume they survive, and I'm actually going to opt to Heat Wave here and read into them switching the Necrozma out into Incineroar right now. That was a great play by them last turn, honestly. Wow, okay, they just stay in. I wonder if Blue Flare would have one-shot. Oh, it definitely... Wait, no, that was a crit, right? That's got to be a crit. Yeah, okay. That's obviously a huge crit, depending on who they're targeting. They weren't policy. Wow. Wow. And they're not buried either, so I'm so confused on what the item is on that. And they Sunsteel Strike in a Stack Attacker. Okay, so then the crit actually didn't really matter, given that they weren't trying to KO RESHIRAM that turn. Because we'd be in the same position where we would just threaten the Necrozma with the KO anyway, right? This is really close. Like, you can't fake out with Incineroar right now. Oh, I forgot how low HP they actually are. Okay, that's huge. This game was crazy. Yeah, I mean, you can't fake out right now, so... And I have 200% accurate attacks. Last turn is Psychic Terrain. So we can just Earth Power the Incineroar and Thunderbolt into Necrozma. And I think even if we didn't get the crit, if we didn't get the crit, given that they played out the last turn the way they did, I would have to rely maybe on a slightly inaccurate attack. Like, the question is whether or not Specs T-Bolt would KO Necrozma if I didn't get that crit. If it does, then, yeah, it, basically has no impact on the game. But if it doesn't, then I would probably have to rely on a Blue Flare. Or I actually, what would I do? Because in that position, I definitely would want to split my damage. I probably wouldn't want to go for spread type attacks. I guess I could Heat Wave T-Bolt. Oh, Heat Wave T-Bolt works, right? Yeah. No. We just Earth Power T-Bolt the Incin slot. That always wins the game. Oh no. Sorry, I'm trying to say if I didn't crit them, right? So if I didn't crit, then I think Heat Wave T-Bolt's fine. Yeah, Heat Wave T-Bolt works. I'm just really surprised they targeted the Stack there, but that's the thing, right? Stack Attack applies a lot of pressure in a matchup like that just because, like, you don't want to set up Trick Room and it dissuades your opponent from setting up Trick Room. So that was a really interesting match, but RESHIRAM's honestly been amazing, and we've definitely had some good fortune. Like, I think Xerneas and Necrozma are probably two of the better restricteds we could go up against. Honestly, I kind of want to play against Zacian, but we'll take it. Definitely a fun start. And yeah, that last one was really close. I feel like one wrong turn, it could have easily swung into my opponent's favor. Yeah. I feel like Necrozma would survive just with the Sliver against Blue Flare, but yeah, I'm not sure what EV spread they had. Normally you'd assume just max HP, but let's look for another one. Third game of the day, and it's very, very classic Kyogre. Okay, cool. So a little bit more standard of a team, and I'm happy to go up against that. Is our Urshifu maxed? Or admin max? I mean, Xerneas plus Tornadus feels really good here. Like, I'm leaning towards the top 4 here. The only issue is their fake out pressure from Incineroar, which would make me want to bring Indeedee, but I feel like Indeedee is so useless past turn 1. Stack Attack I don't think ever comes out here. That's really primarily for either Xerneas or the Trick Room matchup. So the last 2 games actually are like the best 2 examples of when you'd actually bring Stack Attack out. And if you look at this team, Stack Attack, it definitely kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, but it's so critical to having a slower mode, right? Because when you run such hyper offense with Scarf, Specs, and AB, and you can't protect, it's like Trick Room will just roll over you if your opponent gets it up. And Stack is just so nice because not only does it help against Trick Room, but it also doubles down as a Xerneas answer. And can actually sometimes help into some of those Zacian matchups as well, depending on how those teams are composed. So let's see. It's going to be Tornadus plus Kyogre. Oh, this is a dream for us, I think. I mean, this is obviously really good, but what do we want to cover for? So the first question is, are you Scarf Kyogre? Because if so, you are in a lot of danger right now. If you're not Scarf, what you could do turn 1 potentially is protect into Icy Wind. The safest play for me is to click Tailwind here. And then just T-Bolt Kyogre. Honestly, I don't mind going for that because, like, let's say you Icy Wind. Actually, I don't think they're spexed. Okay, nice. Sorry, I was gonna say I don't think they're Scarfed, but if they're making this play turn 1, it's either a very aggressive play in which you're not Scarfed or you are just straight up choice Scarfed. So we should just one-shot it here. But like, it could have gotten really ugly because let's say they are not Scarfed and they protect as Tornadus Icy Winds, then turn 2, you can just Tailwind Water Spout, and that would be pretty ugly. I guess the question is whether or not Kyogre outspeeds actually in that position. Against Gieleki? You should, right? I'm actually not 100% sure about that. But yeah, this is why I wanted to play it safe too, right? If I Electro Web or, Volt Switch or T-Bolt the Tornadus, things get really bad really quickly with Kyogre getting a free attack off there. With Hyper Offense, every turn is so important, especially the opening of the game. Okay, so I think I'm willing to just Icy Wind here. I think I'm fine Icy Winding and T-Bolting into Gieleki. Maybe we should just target Tornadus here, actually. Okay, neither Pokemon protect. So much damage from Specs T-Bolt. They're going to Electro Web us. But I think this is okay. Well, I guess they probably have Icy Wind on Tornadus, but if they were Focus Sash on Tornadus, I can't... Or Wakan Bear. Actually, we probably KO through Wakan. But the thing is, now I just bring out Urshifu, right? I can just Aqua Jet. And they Hurricane. Okay, cool. Nice. Into Gieleki. Perfect. That does not even KO. Wow. This Gieleki does have a little bit of bulk, I believe. So that actually comes up huge for us. Nice. Icy Wind just gets the KO. Yeah, I can't stress how Icy Wind actually turns Tornadus into such a scarier threat. Because not only do you drop your opponent's speed, you also just deal damage with it. And that damage is honestly pretty significant more often than not. So it's Dark Urshifu. They threaten with Sucker Punch. I'm at -1 speed with both. 2 turns of Tailwind left. This is priority. But we have Urshifu in the back. Okay, wait. This is still actually very winnable for my opponent, I think. But because we're Scarf Urshifu, I think we just give up both Pokemon here, right? Or I could protect here. No, actually, I think, isn't it better to give up both here, I think? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's better to give up both Pokemon here. So I'm just going to T-Bolt Icy Wind. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you can Sucker Punch and then just KO my Tornadus. But then now I just get my Urshifu with Choice Scarf in the rain. Oh, I'm faster than their Tornadus too. Okay, that should immediately win us the game then, I would think. I guess they have to be bulky Tornadus then, right? Because we're at -1 speed. We both have Tailwind up. Which makes sense, right? Like, a lot of players are opting for bulk on Torn. Yeah, but this is perfect now because we have Scarf Urshifu. Like, turn 1 essentially won us the game. And it feels like so many Kyogres are Scarfed, but I don't know. It was like before Santi won the Players' Cup Invitational, you would see Mystic Water or Sea Instance more, it felt like. And then now, after that, the meta kind of shifted to Scarf, but both are still just such good items that you could really go either way. Okay, last turn of Tailwind, 2 turns of Rain. This is at -2. Oh, I forgot that we had Icy Wind in them, so that was probably a speed tie. Yeah, but I don't really think it matters given that we have Scarf Urshifu here. So I think we always just go for the Surging Strikes onto Tornadus, and then just Draco Meteor into Urshifu here. The reason we Surging Strikes Tornadus is because they can't protect, and I don't want them to get another Tailwind up, especially with us having Scarf. But again, they just end up forfeiting. Yeah, I mean, turn 1 was the big thing here. Like, they led, like, Aleki plus Tornadus covered for their lead really, really well. I was really nervous about them leading, like, Incineroar for Fake Out. The only awkward thing for Incin on their end is it becomes really useless after turn 1, so then it's kind of like a dead slot, and then you have to like figure out how to maneuver out of it, but that could have disrupted us a lot. Like Incin plus Kyogre, for example, would have actually been really tricky, because then I essentially would have to protect Tornadus and then probably switch Aleki out into Reshiram, which doesn't feel amazing. So both of the teams, like both the team we're using and my opponent's team are very hyper offensive here, so yeah, I think it really did come down to how the leads played out. Unfortunately for us, we ended up with the lead that worked out, but they you know, there are several things that could have countered us. It's not like Torn plus Aleki covers for everything that they could go for, and so that's always a little bit scary, especially when you're using a hyper offensive team and you're going up against hyper offense. But I think Pokemon selection wise, you know, it was definitely the best 4. I don't think we ever bring Stack Attack out into that one. NDD, like, yeah, I guess you could make a very, very slight argument for, but I just don't really love it there. Yeah, especially with them having Urshifu on their team as well. So I think the 4 are right. If they lead Incin plus Tornadus, Incin plus Kyogre, and let's say we're a best of 3, then you could actually make the argument for Indeedee, and then you lead like Aleki plus non-Indeedee, and then switch Indeedee in turn 1 to block Fake Out. Or I guess you could just go Indeedee plus Aleki, because they didn't have terrain control. So in a best of 3, I'd consider bringing Indeedee. In a best of 1, I'm less confident on it, unless I'm hard reading them to lead Incin plus Kyogre, basically. But yeah, fun set of games, pretty fast paced as you'd imagine for a team like this, so let's look for another one. Alright, number 4 of the day, and it's Eternatus. There was a Japanese team that got like top 20 on the ranked ladder at the end of last season. It may just be this team. It had like Dragon Fang Eternatus, Sash Mamo. Okay, Eternatus versus Reshiram is pretty interesting. We have Indeedee. Mamo is honestly, I think, such a good Pokemon right now. Like, it's hard to use because like Rillaboom is so common, and Rillaboom can obviously just threaten you with so much damage with Grassy Glide, but it's just so good into so many of the common Pokemon in the format right now. I don't know how to approach this one. If I'm my opponent, what am I leading with? Like, I almost like the idea of Aleki plus Urshifu and then switching in Indeedee turn 1 to block whatever's Fake Outing and then using my other Pokemon to KO whatever they're bringing out. I actually think that makes a lot of sense. Stack is just really risky with high horsepower as well as Suicune with Scald. Okay, so then let me think. From my opponent's perspective, what 4 would I bring? I bring Mamoswine, Suicune, Eternatus for sure. I probably wouldn't bring Zapdos. And then I'd probably bring Rillaboom for... actually no, I'd probably bring Incineroar. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think Zapdos provides them that much value, but, you know, if it is Rocky Helmet, it's pretty helpful against Water Urshifu, so it certainly makes sense. Like, the tough thing about Team Preview is always, like, the fact that, especially when you think your opponent can bring all 6 of their Pokemon, you know, then it's just harder to predict exactly what they're going to go for, so then you just try to find a general game plan. But this is what I was talking about. Okay, so, like, they lead Incin plus Suicune, right? And so the idea here is to just, because we're, I just, like, does Suicune survive Specs T-Bolt here? If it does, then we're in trouble. But the idea is to just Specs T-Bolt into Suicune and then switch Urshifu out into NDD. Yeah, and like you don't want to lead NDD here because I just like don't know if for some reason their Rillaboom is really, really slow and they win the terrain war, then they could fake us out if they, you know, bring Rillaboom. I don't know. Suicune is just so bulky. I honestly think he might even survive a Specs Thunderbolt, which is just so wild, but we'll see. Oh, they're going to Mamo. Oh, that's a really good play. They respected the Specs. Wow. Oh, wow. It's a double switch. They didn't bring Eternatus, but this is actually going to work out really well. Okay, that was really well done. Because that actually covered for every single play I could have made. Other than staying in and T-Bolt and Surging Strikes the Suicune slot. But I don't love that. I'm fine with the way I played out turn 1 with the information that we had, right? That's just a really nice play by my opponent, though. That's really cool. Okay. This next turn is very, very awkward, honestly. I can't really safely switch either of these out. As much as it pains me, I might just T-Bolt and Protect here with the intention to sacrifice Regieleki so that I get a free switch into RESHIRAM. I really like their decision to not bring Eternatus. Okay, actually high horsepower into NDD. I could see a double up in that slot. Nice. Okay, okay. So that's good. It's like, where do I go from here? I want to switch this into Urshifu right now. Because I kind of want NDD for terrain control. Man, that's such a cool decision. Like, it is always so hard to not bring a restricted Pokemon. And honestly, Eternatus isn't even that bad here, but it's just a great call. Okay, another T-Bolt. There's high horsepower. Okay, not bad. If U-turn comes out here... Okay, great. We have escaped the first couple of turns as well as I could have asked for, honestly. And here's the great thing now. Regardless of who you bring out, I threaten with Regieleki pivoting out into NDD and Surging Strikes. Oh, this actually... You have to bring an instant here, yeah. So if I'm my opponent, what would I do? I would switch out Mamoswine into Rillaboom. Mamoswine into Rillaboom is what I would do. Then you would actually have grassy terrain up, and that's not amazing. I could make... I mean, I think you have to. So, like, I honestly here want a T-Bolt and Surging Strikes this slot. Yeah, I'm going to make a read this turn. Okay, that works. Unless they actually just clicked Fake Out. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is great. So the idea behind this play is it covers for most options other than Incineroar clicking Fake Out there, but I thought it was highly unlikely Incine's going to actually Fake Out in that position because of the fact that, you know, I have NDD as a switch in. This actually works out even... would I say it works out better for us? If they switched in Rillaboom, I could have threatened with a double KO potentially, but yeah. The main read I was making that turn is that they weren't going to click Fake Out. And they don't even damage us. They go for a parting shot. Wow, okay, that's amazing. Because, like, my opponent is just really lacking in damage output right now. But they could still definitely win the game, but getting rid of Mamoswine was such a critical component in this equation because... yeah, because that thing threatens us offensively more so than anything else on my opponent's team. So So this is definitely a strong start. The other thing is, even if Suicune sets up a Tailwind, I don't know if I'm that nervous about it because like our Pokemon are just really fast. Like we're talking Scarf, Urshifu, and Specs-Eleki here. And that's actually really interesting. They bring out Incineroar here rather than Suicune. I think Suicune would have been a stronger bring. But now we position ourselves where we get terrain control, right? So I pivot Eleki out into Indy, and I just always click Surging Strikes here into Incineroar, I think. Oh, I could double switch, actually. Because if you're my opponent, you probably don't fake out here. You could switch into Suicune and then U-turn or glide. I'm fine attacking here. I think we've built up enough of a lead. Especially because, yes, Rillaboom takes these T-Bolts decently well, but we've chipped away at it a lot already. And at this point, with my opponent not bringing Eternatus, you really just don't threaten with damage from any of your remaining Pokemon. Yeah, this is exactly the play they needed to go for, though. So, yeah, nicely done on their end. And then you can U-turn out. But then the thing is, if you U-turn out, you don't even KO. I wonder if Surging Strikes would have KO'd Rillaboom there. Like, I'm fine getting Chip on Suicune as well. Because, like I said, I think we built up enough of a lead where it's fine let the turn plays out the way it does here. Okay. They actually go for Knockoff. That's even better for us. You just removed my Choice Scarf, so now I'm not even locked. Okay, that works for me. I guess I am intimidated though, right? I'm at -2, so close combat's not KOing. I think here I'm content going for an Expanding Force. And a Surging... Oh, I could U-turn, actually. Without Scarf, I do have to be a little bit careful right now, I think. I like the idea of just trying to pick up a knockout right now, so Expanding Force into Surging Strikes here into Rillaboom. Oh, I guess you can just U-turn out though, right? Protect U-turn? I don't know if I love that play. Okay. I didn't think very hard about knockoff into Urshifu, not giving me a free switch in. I think it's okay. I'm mainly curious how fast both of my opponent's Pokemon are right now. The other question is, do I go into RESHIRAM or Eleki right now? I lean towards Eleki, especially if they end up U-turning into the Indy slot, but I think it's probably U-turn into... You know what? Okay, I'll go into RESHIRAM. Just because it's bulkier here, I don't want to take any potential crits. Like, we could still definitely lose this game, even though I said my opponent doesn't have much offensive pressure. Like, they have a lot of defense, and that can help them. Oh, they don't Tailwind, though. They Snarl. Okay. Actually, Snarling this turn's always better. I think that's the right play. The question is, did Rillaboom U-turn here into the Indy slot? They did. Okay, that puts us in a really good spot, I think. Because now I get RESHIRAM in for free, and your Rillaboom is trapped in a pretty awkward position. I think Earth Power should KO that. Actually, we are at -1. I'm not confident about it. Like, you would think Rillaboom switches out into Incineroar right now, right? So I want to pivot Indy out into Eleki. I think they will switch into Incin here. I just don't want to lose my AV in case they stay in. I guess Draco actually works. It does pretty good damage. Covers for the switch in. Yeah, I'm down for that. That's kind of a middle of the ground play. The idea behind switching out Rillaboom, Indy here is because I'm really vying for terrain control in this endgame. I just don't think my opponent's Pokemon should outspeed me, even under Tailwind. Yeah, so there's the Rilla switch out. That's fine. That's what we're expecting. Okay. This is a doozy of a game. Maybe I should have just read into that Suicune switch in turn, because, like, that was always going to happen in that position. Okay, pretty good damage from Draco. I would think Specs T-Bolt KOs at this point. They just Snarl again. I mean, these Snarls are certainly annoying, right? Yeah, Suicune has the potential to win this game by itself with Snarl. Like, so I have to be careful about how I position myself. I think we stay in with both Pokemon this turn. We're at -4. You could switch Suicune out into Rillaboom and then fake out Regieleki. I don't mind going for Volt Switch here. I'm going to Volt Switch and actually stay in this turn, because there's a small chance they switch Suicune out here. I don't think they go for it, but there's a small chance. And if we catch them switching out... Okay. Oh, interesting. So they're probably just clicking Parting Shot here. Like, we've chipped away at everything so well, but the thing is, these Pokemon are still not KO'd, right? And that's the main thing for my opponent. Does Snarl KO Urshifu from this range? I don't think it should. But yeah, there's just so much bulk on my opponent's team, and like with Snarl, I can't really switch in safely either. The blue flare here was just a cover for a Rillaboom switch in. Like, and I know we do no damage, but it's fine. Also gives us a burn chance. No burn, but that's okay. Okay, so the key thing here is what's Incineroar doing this turn? Because we can leverage like this is why it was so important to conserve terrain this entire time. Oh, they actually go for Throat Chop. Okay, into RESHIRAM, cool. Perfect. That's really good for us then, because I finally get a free close combat into the Incineroar slot. This whole game's been about that, essentially. Looking for a free opportunity. Actually, Surging Strikes maybe is more optimal, because it should KO Incineroar or the Rillaboom. And make sure I don't get a drop. I think we probably faint anyway, but I'm fine to go for here, the target here. And this seems kind of unintuitive, but I actually think I want to stay in with RESHIRAM here. Nah, it's fine to go into Regieleki here. My only fear is that they Scald crit Regieleki on the switch in. Scald crit burn. So it may have been smarter to exercise a little bit more patience here, but the idea here is now I've gotten rid of the drops from on the RESHIRAM, and I finally get a guaranteed knockout on this slot. And now the dominoes kind of fall one by one, right? Like, we spent a lot of turn building up into this position. But now we're in a really good spot, I would say. Okay. There's just a little inherent risk in switching in Regieleki the way I did. But they Scald Urshifu. Perfect. Great. That should win us the game, right? Because now I bring out RESHIRAM, they bring out Rillaboom, so they change the terrain. Then I just pivot RESHIRAM out into Indeedee, Thunderbolt to KO the Rillaboom, and then Suicune can't win that 3v1. Yeah. So much about this game was maintaining control of the terrain. And the main thing is that Suicune is annoying with Leftovers recovery, but it doesn't do enough damage quickly enough. I also, yeah, I mean, if I knew they didn't have Protect and let Specs T-Ball was a guaranteed KO, then yeah, the right play here is to go for the Suicune, but pretty sure Rillaboom here is AV, so might as well just secure the knockout onto that, right? And Volt Switch is actually probably better, too. Yeah, I mean, surely Specs Volt Switch KOs, so... Psychic Terrain made this game a lot easier to play. If we didn't have Indeedee, my opponent would just Psycho and Fake Outs infinitely. The key thing in this game was getting that turn against Mamoswine correctly. Fortunately for us, we did. So now we get control of the terrain. Volt Switch will KO Rillaboom, so then it's a 3v1. And the idea behind switching Regieleki out here is that so you can't Snarl me this turn. And then the end game is just, you know, waiting for something to faint, getting Regieleki in for free, and then clicking T-Bolt to end the game. So unless somehow Rillaboom wasn't AV this whole time and has Protect and then Suicune crits us, crit burns us with Scald, that's like the only way I could see my opponent winning. Nice. Yeah, we needed... Psychic Terrain was so good here for us, and it's like, with the amount of Fake Out in the format, it's just so good to have an Indeedee on your team. Because it completely stops my opponent from being able to just Fake Out every turn, and like that gave us a lot more opportunity, right, to make the plays that we did throughout this game. Okay. Now we're in an endgame where the correct play is to always just wait for my opponent to actually pick up a KO, because Regieleki will always win. We don't want to carelessly switch in Regieleki. Honestly, okay, but yeah, Follow Me. I think Follow Me is fine. Maybe it's a little bit impatient, but Snarl does insignificant damage, so we just Follow Me and just go back out into Regieleki. Like, yeah, it's mainly because this game's dragged on for a bit. I think the absolute correct way to play this game is to just, like, keep attacking with both Pokemon until something faints, and then Regieleki just clicks Thunderbolt, but I think Follow Me is also fine here, because Suicune's not really dealing enough damage anyway. And I can just Volt Switch. Snarl, 133 to 106. So it did 27 damage, which is fine. Yeah. This has been a really long game. Like, it goes to show that even with hyper offense, sometimes the games might not go on. Like, sometimes games can go on for a lot longer than you anticipate. I'll just follow me T-Bolt here. I honestly think 2 T-Bolts might KO, but I also honestly want to just learn this damage calc as well. We know they're lefties rather than citrus, so that's handy. And the follow me just prevents them from winning from the Scald crit burn. Okay, I think they'll survive another one. It's actually pretty close. Oh, they Tailwind. It's pretty interesting because they had Tailwind this whole time but didn't go for it, but I actually think that's the right decision. We haven't seen their 4th yet, right? Because they haven't protected our Ice Beam once yet. But it doesn't change how I play. Yeah. Like, if I wanted to just be 100% confident in winning, I'd probably stay with RESHIRAM and just drag the game on a little bit longer just because there's literally no downside or risk at that, especially with us having the Pokemon and number advantage, but I think this actually is just the same endgame and accelerates things. And you can see Regieleki is so fast here, even with Tailwind. Suicune gets KO'd. So, yeah. Honestly, I think it was a really smart decision to not bring Eternatus in this game, but my opponent needed to conserve that Mamoswine. The fact that they just allowed me to KO with Surging Strikes that one turn meant that we had a huge advantage afterwards. But, yeah, I think it was a really, like, I didn't anticipate that, right? I think it was actually, yeah, like, it makes a lot of sense to me. So, let's check their team. It is the Dragon Fang. Yeah, this is, I'm pretty sure, just the Japanese team from last season. Like, got, like, top 20. It's helping hand, actually. Oh, interesting. 115 speed. Yep, classic Mamoswine, Admint, Citrus Incin, and then classic AV Rillaboom. Cool. Alright, that was a really fun set of games. As you all know, and I said in the last couple of days, I feel like I've generally struggled a little bit on the ladder recently with just any team I've been trying. I just feel like I haven't played super well. And yeah, just haven't had like a good string of games, but today, like, this really instilled a lot of confidence, and RESHIRAM honestly put in incredible work. We definitely had more good fortune than bad fortune. You know, we hit most of our attacks, and, like, the games, especially the opening games, I think, like, they all could play so differently, and that's the reality with hyper offense. Like, it can be very coin flippy sometimes, but RESHIRAM was just so fun in this one. So, yeah, thank you to you all, as always, for watching. Thank you to TSL Tang for the team. Check them out, linked in the description below. Leave a like and enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and see you all next time. All right, peace.